the Geeks Out Podcast live from FanExpo Denver. What? Yeah. Smattering of applause. Uh, if you are unfamiliar with the Geeks Out Podcast, we are a queer and geeky podcast. We look at what's going on in pop culture through a queer and geeky lens. We're also part of Geeks Out, which is a nonprofit organization based in New York, and they are the creators of FlameCon, the world's largest queer Comic-Con in the world that happens in New York, August 20th and 21st. This year, that's right. But joining me today, I don't know, have I introduced myself? I don't know if I did.
No.
No. My name is Kevin Gilligan. I go he, him pronouns. And joining me today is a wonderful artist, Chris Shehan. Would you please introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what your pronouns are, and where they can find your work?
I'm Chris Shehan. My pronouns are he, they, and I am the co-creator of a graphic novel called The Autumnal, and I am the artist of the first arc of The House of Slaughter, which is a spin-off of Something is Killing the Children.
Awesome. I've really enjoyed your work on House of Slaughter, but just wanted to say, since we're here live to tape at FanExpo Denver, and this is actually the first time that Geeks Out has ever been here before, and we've had a really great time, a lot of great interactions with people and connecting to others in the queer community. And I'm curious, who is part of your community? Like, where have you met them? How do you connect with them?
I have I've always looked for my people, and I feel like coming up into comics, I made a lot of friends, and as we started growing into the comic industry together, I don't know, it feels like our small group of friends is like a graduating class, because we were all trying to break in the comics together, and we have been, and so I would call a lot of my comics family my community, and through making comics, I've also found a lot of great queer people, queer comic fans, queer comic creators, and I love that community. I love being just involved in it as much as I can. So we exist on the internet because of what our job entails. So it can be weird. I don't see anybody all the time, but I still feel close to my comics family.
That's great. I mean, I know from the time that I've walked around the floor here, I've seen a lot of great queer artists and creators. So it's great to sort of see that here at FanExpo Denver.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because it's sort of, you're walking by and you'll see like a little rainbow flag. It's like, oh, hey, they're there.
Yeah.
So I was introduced to your work through your art for the book, the first arc of James Tynion's The Forest book, House of Slaughter, which is a spin-off of his book, Something is Killing the Children. And it's such a really great companion piece while telling a new and distinctively queer horror story set in this universe. How is the collaborative process for you? Like, what is that like? Because like, I know there are some artists where you're very entrenched together. You're working through it, particularly if it's a new piece. But it's not always the case for something that's with the studio or an established work or universe. So what was that like?
So by the time they invited me on, they were already designs done for characters by the Something is Killing the Children artist, Werther del Herrera, and so I didn't do a lot of creating on this. It was more just the storytelling, but I did have a relationship with Tate Brumble, who wrote the script and who worked close with James to create the story. And we always, in our private messages, would throw ideas back and forth. So there was a lot of that. But otherwise, Boom's system is usually just me working with an editor and just making sure they get it right. They usually get notes, I assume, from James and from Tate as well, and they combine it with the other editors, and I get those notes so that it can fit right into the Something is Killing the Children world properly. So it was different because I've never really worked on an established property before, and I know that this is a fan favorite, so I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to do it the way that they had envisioned. So it was a little less creative for me, but it was definitely rewarding to work in a universe that I already was a fan of.
Yeah, I mean, like, your work is very moody. It's very dark. There's a lot of there's a lot of horror elements. You see that with the Autumnal, which you co-created, and there's a darker element to that work. What do you like about horror and supernatural stories? Like, what draws you to them?
I've always thought that the horror genre is a very queer genre, maybe not intentionally, but I don't know, I've found a lot of queer people drawn to horror, a lot of different types of horror, and I think that's just an interesting thing that I've noticed and that I've felt. But what I love about horror the most is I feel like it's interesting how you're able to move people's emotions with art, and moving them in any direction, to thrill them or to excite them or to scare them. And horror is so interesting to me because it's the thrill of art moving you and tricking your brain into thinking that you're in danger when you're not. So it's a safe way to kind of explore danger, I guess.
Well, I mean, in House of Slaughter, you have your main characters in the first arc, Aaron, who we get sort of an origin story with him, and sort of like a first love, and sort of this. They're surrounded by death. They're surrounded by supernatural forces, and there's like this dance of death that sort of happens between them, and you have like these intimate moments that are also peppered with such darkness. So
yeah.
So it's really interesting, and I really enjoy the work that you've done into it. So
I appreciate it.
Especially like capturing sort of these tender moments, because horror is very life affirming in a sense. I mean, like that adrenaline that you get from watching a horror or reading horror. And sometimes, like when you have those sort of near-death moments, you want to be close to someone. That's sort of like those impetus to be near someone and to have that intimacy.
Yeah.
So getting into the mind depths of Chris, what is your origin story? How did you get involved with art? Like what is your origin story?
So I had always wanted to tell stories. I always came up with stories since I was very young, and I've always been an artist. Every kid picks up crayons, and I just never put them down. But for whatever reason, I was never really introduced to comics. So I spent a lot of time just drawing a lot, and a lot of time trying to find out what I wanted to do with my life that could involve storytelling. So I practiced filmmaking. I made short films, and for fun, I tried animation. I did a lot of creative writing. I did a lot of. I wanted to maybe write books. I wasn't really sure, but I was trying everything, and it wasn't really until I was 19 that I discovered comic books, and like I always knew they existed, but for whatever reason, nobody really. I feel like most comics are introduced to someone. It's hard to just discover them, especially as comic shops are going away and the spinner racks are no longer in gas stations. You're not just stumbling upon comics; they're recommended, and I think that's great. But no one I knew read them.
Yeah.
So when I was 19, I went to college. I went to New Mexico State University, and one of the required English classes was a literature class, and the options were different types of literature. One of them was comics, and I took that because I thought it would be easy. But I discovered comics there. I saw what it could be. I saw that they were more than just superheroes and more than just for children. And I think superheroes are great, and I think comics for children are great. But I think what I learned is that comics are a medium and not a genre.
Yeah.
And they are like anything else. They have many genres. They have many different types of stories, many different age ranges. And I found that I could tell stories, any kind of story, in comic books. So from then on, I tried to be a comic artist. I went to my first Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con in 2009, and I brought a portfolio, and it was terrible, and I brought it to show editors, and they told me it was terrible, but they told me ways I could make it better, and I kept trying to make it better. Every year I would go back, try to bring back a better portfolio, and it got to the point where I was getting work. It was low paying, self-published types of comics, but it was great because I was getting paid to make comics, and on my first book I was getting paid $4 a page, which is very low, but it was a great experience. I made an entire comic. I made it on a deadline, and I learned a ton, and I found that that's the best way to get better, is to just keep making comics. So I kept going. I kept getting work from small press and people trying to make their own writers trying to make their own comics, and I would take the work, and I would be very proud of it. I would put my best work into it. I would learn. I would get better, and it led to me being seen by a company called Vault Comics, and they had been following me for a little bit. And one of my friends, Liana Kangas, was working on a comic with Vault called She Said Destroy, and I did a piece for fun, a fan art piece of it, and Vault picked it up and published it as a cover. And
That's awesome.
I was like, oh, okay. So I kept tagging Vault on Twitter that I wanted to make a comic with them, and it wasn't too long after that they saw a perfect place for me in a book being pitched by Daniel Kraus, who is the writer of The Shape of Water, and that was the autumnal, and I was like, oh yes, I know, absolutely, I want to make that book. And I was very proud of it. I put my best work into it. I think it's some of my best work today, and from then on I've just been, I feel, in comics regularly. It's my full-time job, and I love it.
That's awesome. I mean, just that arc of it shows the importance of sticking with something that you love. Learning from the notes that you're given from the people in the industry.
Yeah.
So that you can become more successful, and it's wonderful. Like you said, it was 2009.
It was 2009 was when I showed my first portfolio. I made my first comic pages, and it was just a journey from there.
That's amazing. So in my internet stalking of you, so I found out that you're going to be contributing to the Bi Visibility, a bisexual anthology, Still Bi, which is on Kickstarter now. So everyone,
Yes.
throw your coins at it.
I've got a link for it in the link tree on all of my social media bios. So if you're following me, it's easy to find.
Yeah. So would you tell us about the story that you're contributing to on the anthology?
Yes, it's a story about a vampire. It's a kind of a Victorian horror about a vampire and an artist.
Uh-huh.
The artist is looking for a muse, and he finds it in this vampire. And I mean, it's very short because it's in an anthology.
Right.
But I think it does a great job. It was written by Dan Falco, who is a trans writer, outstanding writer. Apparently, this was his first comic, and it's great. I loved it. I loved the script. I loved designing the characters. I loved working on it. So I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, the preview image is very arresting. There's a lot going on, and it's in the preview. I'm like, what's happening? What's going on, and
Yeah.
what more is to this story? So I'm definitely intrigued. So
Yeah, good. And I have volume 1 of that anthology. It's a great anthology. I think it's important to tell stories about bisexual characters because there's not a lot of that. It's either straight or gay, and even then there's not enough representation. But I feel like bisexuals are really shoved to the side. So I'm glad to be part of a book that's specifically about that.
yeah, I mean, because anyone who has asked me at the convention how I'm doing, I generally tell them that I identify as bisexual and tired.
Yeah.
So. Um,
Same.
So as promised, with our podcast, we'll be discussing the week in queer and geeky pop culture. But first, I wanted to know what are you getting down and nerdy with? What are you consuming in pop culture right now?
I've been watching a lot of the Marvel and Star Wars shows that are coming out.
Yeah.
I love Star Wars. I've always loved Star Wars. It's very important to me. And so I geek out and I cry and I get extra emotional about Star Wars. I cry when the Force theme plays because I'm just a nerd. And so that's big for me. Seeing it's Disney.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
Disney is not without its many problems.
Uh-huh.
But I'm still thankful that they managed to give us more Star Wars, and I hope that it keeps going because I love that universe. I love being in it.
Yeah, there's the shows, there's the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely enjoyed Dr. Aphra.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
great comic.
And there's a darkness that is within those comics, especially with some of the characters in that series. Yeah, we haven't started the second half of Stranger Things yet, but
I'm not caught up on that at all.
oh
But I've heard great things about the most recent season or
Yeah.
volume. They split it up.
yeah. No, we did the volume 1 of the new season, and
Yeah.
we haven't started because it's like
I've only done 2 seasons.
I want to say it's 4 hours. It's those last 2 episodes are 4 hours total.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So I've been here.
Yeah.
and crashing
I gotta
every
catch
night.
up.
So, yeah. So we watched a bit of that or caught up. We'll catch up to that, but it's mostly been fluff. It's been Drag Race. So,
Yeah.
well, speaking of that, speaking of drag in a sense, have you seen the first images that have been leaked from the set of the Barbie movie?
Yes. I love it. I love it.
I wasn't sure that we were going to be getting Magic Earring Ken.
It's yeah.
Do you know the story behind Magic Earring Ken?
No.
So, it is the most popular Ken doll that ever was released. It had broke all sales records for Ken dolls. And so they had designed it after what was popular at the time in the clubs. But so what was popular at the time was, and the people that were at the clubs, the men that were at the clubs were gay, bi, and queer men.
Yes.
And so that is who bought Magic Earring Ken. That is who it was popular, and they discontinued it because they were not expecting that. So
Ken is a queer icon.
he is. I mean,
He's got outfits.
I mean,
He's
based
like
off of
Barbie.
what's been teased with the movie. I mean, we're getting Dayglow, hot pink.
Oh yeah, and those
rollerblading.
are all based on actual Barbie dolls. I've seen the ones that the outfits are based on. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was wondering how they would do this movie. Oh, I've not seen that one.
Oh yeah, this is the cowgirl
That's
cow theme. Yeah,
yes, it's perfect.
it's very chef's kiss. It's
Yeah,
these are great.
you have to lean in to what makes Barbie Barbie, and that's that she can do anything and be anyone and has all the best outfits.
Right.
They would be doing it wrong if this was too, I don't know, less of whatever that is. I love it. I think it's great, and I'm gonna watch it. It's very bisexual for me.
Yes. It's appealing to both sides of
Yes.
myself. Yeah, all of the sides. So I also wanted to share. So there's a new teaser, a new trailer that came out for a series that's coming out on Discovery Plus, and it's called Conjuring Kesha.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna show the trailer here for it. So
Kesha here. When I'm not on stage, I'm exploring my connection to the supernatural. Anybody that knows me knows I love staying in a super haunted house. It's kind of my thing. And I'm bringing along my friends for the whole terrifying trip.
It's time to go get scary.
I'm at the Antoinette Hall Opera House, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, one of the most haunted prisons in the United States.
Oh my God, what is that?
Do you believe in ghosts? I want to see things I can't explain and capture evidence never before seen on camera.
What did I let you get me into?
Are we in danger?
Whoa.
You heard that, right?
We're about to go get haunted.
Oh my God.
A lot of things have happened that have been weird, but I'm also like, give me some more. I'm nervous.
Trust yourself.
It's about to get really, really crazy. Why did you bring me here?
Wait, what just happened? Is there a spirit here?
I am getting out of here, y'all.
What are you not telling us? Oh my God.
Flashlight, let's go. I'm entering the darkness. Time to face my fears. So let's go.
Conjuring Kesha on Discovery Plus, streaming July 8th.
yeah.
That's a lot.
So this is a ghost hunting show with Kesha, featuring her and her friends, including Big Frida, as they explore haunted spaces. So, would you want to go ghost hunting with Kesha?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's ridiculous. But I would never ever say no to that. I would go.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I lived in a house that was haunted,
Really?
and normally I'm a skeptic. Generally, I look at everything from a skeptic or more scientific perspective. But I lived in a very old house, and before we had moved in, they found like a kneecap in the wall,
What?
and the previous several different sets of previous owners plus the plumber have seen like a woman with like a towel wrapped on her head or something.
Oh.
And
How very shining.
so yeah, so when we moved in, we knew about all of that, and none of the previous owners had interacted with each other. My dad actually owned the house, and he had rented it to these people before we moved in, and that was so we knew. But I didn't really, I'd never seen the woman, but I did have experiences of waking up at the same time every night, and waking up with my leg hanging off the bed, which never happens. My dog would look into dark corners of the house and growl, and so yeah, I think I don't know if ghosts are exactly what we think they are, but
Yeah.
I think there's something going on.
Something more.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Maybe some kind of alternate reality bleeding into ours. I don't know.
There used to be a show on MTV where they would bring people to haunted places, and I think it was called Fear, MTV's Fear.
I've never seen it.
And they would put like GoPros on them, and they'd have to like last the night.
Oh, yeah.
And then they could win money, and I was like, oh yeah, please give that to me. I would love to do that. Mostly because I'm like, this is, I don't know if I believe necessarily, but
I couldn't do it alone, and I think it's because I do believe in it, and I would just be freaking myself out.
Yeah. So there's also what also came out this week was the trailer for a new movie that's coming to Peacock. It's the queer horror movie They/Them, starring the original one of the original Scream Kings, Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
So let's take a look at that trailer real quick.
This is a safe space for everyone. Let's have some fun.
Brilliant.
I mean, I love a good horror movie, so that's.
I'm gonna die mad that I didn't think of that name, that title first.
Yeah.
It's genius horror title.
So the synopsis is that this is set at a conversion therapy camp.
Ooh.
Yeah, already a little too real.
Yep.
And already the horror is already there in terms of trauma. But then also turning it into sort of a slasher feature, featuring a mostly queer and trans and non-binary
Yeah.
cast.
And Kevin Bacon.
And Kevin Bacon, yeah.
Oh, it
who
looks great.
was a
though.
queer awakening for a lot of people. So.
Yeah. I saw Footloose.
Yeah. I'd
His
damn-
angry warehouse dancing.
Right? Gotta express yourself in a conservative small town that won't let you.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So you're mad that you didn't think of it first.
I didn't think of the title. It's a great title, best horror title ever. It looks great too. Like genuinely, it looks great, and I do expect it to be a little bit campy because horror, and queerness are both have their own levels of camp, and having them combined, it has to be.
Right.
But it also looks like, I don't know, like an A24 quality horror movie.
Yeah.
Quality like indie horror film. I get actually legitimately high quality vibes from it. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually going to make me probably watch it on Peacock, which,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a feat within itself. But, I mean, there's talking about queer horror, I mean...
All horror is queer.
Yeah. Talking about the first, like, Scream King, there was Mark Patton in Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Which is a very queer horror movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like overtly queer elements to it, even though they may not necessarily own up to them.
Yeah.
But that was, I mean, for a lot of people, like I saw that when I was a kid, and I was like, maybe I don't know if that's my route, considering that we're talking about a movie that's set at a conversion therapy. It also gives me very, very much, but I'm a cheerleader vibes.
Yeah.
But it's not talking about your route from that. I don't know if Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was my route, but it could be. I can't ascribe it to that, but
Yeah.
but let's wrap things up. I wanted to wrap things up, letting you be able to promote your work, where people can find you. Where can people find you on social media? Where they can find you at the convention here tomorrow? So yeah.
On social media, I'm on Twitter and Instagram, and both of them are at Chris Shehan Art, all one word. And from there, I have a link in my bios that you can see my portfolio. You can see my rep, who has all my original art and commissions. Anything you want to get from me, you can go through my rep. And I'm actually here at the convention with my rep and a few other artists that she represents. And I don't actually know what our booth number is. 5-3. That's it? 5-3?
5-3. So you're between the community zone. You're like right at the wall of the community zone, and the end of Artist Alley.
Yeah, so you'll see there's several artists in a row, and they're all represented by Kirby's Comic Art. That's my rep. My rep is, her name is Annabelle Kirby. She's the best, and she represents some of the best artists in comics, and she's why I'm here, and I'm really grateful for her. So talk to her, talk to the other artists. They're all great. And I'm there. I'm selling The Autumnal and House of Slaughter Volume 1 and some single issues. To promote anything that's coming, I definitely recommend buy Visibility. It's on Kickstarter. It's on Kickstarter right now, so it won't always be. So if you want to get it, you can get it through there, and I believe you can also get Volume 1 through there if you don't have it. And then I'm also working on a project with Vault Comics, and it's a double feature horror story. So it will be 2 different creative teams on one book, and each issue will be about 60 pages worth of comics.
Oh, wow.
So it's a special, it's, like that classic horror movie double feature that like drive-in movies would have, or old theaters.
Little Grindhouse.
Yeah, Grindhouse. That's the vibe we're going, and that'll run for a few issues. So I'm doing that with Vault, and I'm doing an unannounced project with Boom as well, and it is a queer story.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear more about that.
Yes.
Offline. Well, you can find out more about Geeks Out by going to Geeks Out on all the socials, at Geeks Out. We're at geeksout.org. Also, FlameCon, again, is happening August 20th and 21st in New York City, in Manhattan. You can find out more about FlameCon and get your tickets now at flamecon.org. You can find me. And also, you can find us on YouTube if you're not already watching this on YouTube. You can subscribe and find out more of our virtual panels and past panels and interviews with other artists such as Chris for our Flamecast. You can find all that on YouTube, searching for Geeks Out. You can find me on the Twitters and the Instagrams at Gilligan_McJew.
So where your booth is?
We are over in the community zone. We're right behind the zoo.
Yeah, there's a zoo here.
There is a zoo. They have like a little baby alligator,
With little Loki
Loki.
horns.
Yeah.
The real alligator is at the convention.
Yeah. And we're also right next to the Colorado Academy of Cosplay. Some really great folks there. So yeah, come check us out. Add to our wall of queer ships that we have accumulating. So.
Oh yeah, I need to do that.
And.
I have some.
Yeah, we hope you have a good rest of the convention, and until next time, we're out.